Atomiser's 10-year tip with Garry Dibley.
Well, good evening. It is a Monday night. It is 9 o'clock and it is time to tin your tip with myself, Garry Dibley, and the ever-capable mod master that is Mark. It's going to be a little bit frantic tonight. I've been away for the weekend, as I said, and went over to the Isle of Wight. My in-laws were over there, and they said, would you like to come over? Because I had a spare bed. So we packed the kid up in the boot, or we packed the boot and put the kid in the car, and we went for the priestly sum of £40 for a ferry. And that left me rather short because obviously I film my show over the weekend. So for you guys, I took a day's holiday today and spent most of that actually going shopping with the wife. Thank you very much. So it left me really short. I was still filming at about 6:15 this evening. A frantic mod, and one that was sort of semi-inspired from my little trip away. I'm going to do something a little bit different, something that I have never ever sort of done before. I'm going to show you a little bit of where I like to go, and I've sort of, I say composed, I put together a bit of music for this video as well, just to you know, it's all nice and fluffy and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, put that together, my daughter, she knew that I was filming a few snippets for the show while we were away, and my daughter wanted to be in one little section, so you'll see her a little bit later as well. So yes, there is also another section where I'm rabbiting away to the camera whilst trying to catch crabs, and I found it better to actually mute the sound because the wind was incredible. However, one comment was captured and did remain. With all that said, I will pop into that little video. I hope you enjoy it. I will say, I did notice that having the sort of the movie thing on, as I'm still learning the camera, some bits are a bit jerky. That may have been lost in transaction to Wirecast, but you'll get the picture. I will do this, and then we'll pop into Mark's little video, and he is making a mod stand today, the one that I've got up there, in fact. Very, very good thing. Let's crack on, and I'll see you back in a bit. It looks like two big testicles, don't you? It is morning. It's Sunday morning. I've just popped out to move the car and then a little look round. Yes, still in the Isle of Wight, so not done much in the way of filming this week, but today I am on a mission. One more day in the Isle of Wight. We travelled back around about 6 o'clock tonight. My mission today is to actually try and find something to mod, something to make. Obviously this is a modding show, and pretty much all we've seen is quite a lot of scenery thus far. I don't know how that's going to edit down, but I will be attempting to make something, or start to make something, and I will try and find something to make over the course of today. How well that goes, I don't know. However, I know I'm excited because I have been editing, I bought my laptop by me, and have been editing a little video from Graham over at Cyan Mods, showing us how to make a drip tip on his lathe. Lessons for me. So that'll be coming up shortly. I'm going to pop away and hopefully find something to mod this week. I'll catch you all in a bit.
Now this week, as I mentioned in chat last week, I'm going to be making an atomizer stand. Atomizer and drip tip in this case. So I'll be using this A5 sheet of 3mm thick perspex. This one happens to be in black. I've got a few different types, but this is the one I'm going to use. So the first job is to wrap the entire top of it in masking tape, so I've got something to work on nice and easy. You could just do on the plastic, but I find this way is a lot easier. So what I've done so far is I've marked out a line midway down the length, the width I should say, and then I've halved it into two e-cigs pieces, and I've put a midpoint line on both of those. So this will give me two stands when I've finished, but I'm only going to do the one for the day. So the next job was to mark out a couple of points here, put a couple of tiny little marks at 2.5 centimeters and 4 centimeters, so that's 1.5 centimeters gap between the two, and the same from the other side, and there, so I can match up this. A sweet tin lid. Well, that makes are available, of course. And what I want to do is I'm basically going to be matching 3 points together. So that's a one on each side and level with the top. Got them in place like so. Just draw out a curve. Initially, and then moving it down, I can draw a second one. I wish this was easier to see. It's a terrible angle to work with. Like so. And I want to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm matching up the 3 points. Right, my first curve. There. So that's that finished with. And as you'll see, I've now got my basic shape. And the outer curved lines are the extreme sides of it. And these inner lines here are where the holes are going to go. So the first one is going to be an atomizer right at the front all on its own, and that'll be it where these lines cross. On this back one there will also be one where these cross, and in the centre there will be one there as well. And the next job is to mark out the rest of them. So running from the centre, I want one at 3 centimeters from there, another one at 3, and that'll go around all the way around there. Nothing will go onto this one because I just want a single one at the front, so if you want to work on it, you've got space to work there. And along here, this is at 7.5. as the whole width of this A5 sheet is 15 centimeters. So I want one hole every 1.5 centimeters. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. There. So that's going to give me 5 holes along the back, which will take tanks nicely. One at the front, which will take a tank, Genesis, whatever. And along here, there's going to be 3 holes here for drip tips, and 3 holes here for drip tips. And then 1, 2, 3, where you can screw in any other atomizers, cartomizers, whatever you happen to be using. Up to you. And that will be the basic shape. So all it'll be a matter of doing now is cutting it all out once I've marked up the rest of the holes, of course. And as you'll see, I've gone ahead and marked out both of the stands here. So out of this A5 sheet you're going to get 2 of these big stands, and as you'll see here, you get a nice triangle shape on both sides. So if you cut these out in one piece across there, you'll end up with 2 triangles, which you can make into a nice little single stand. So you get 2 of those out of there as well. So, because I hate to waste stuff.
And there we go. I must say, I've got one of those that Mark made, and they are incredibly good. It made me very, very organised, shall we say. I found atties I didn't even know I had to screw on there. What I'm going to do next, before we pop into our first little ad break, I've got something coming up. Now, Graham, or the Scot, or the the man behind Cyan Mods, he's decided after a chat to do a video for me, and I'm going to give you a little promo in a minute for something that I will be running next week. He's going to be showing us step by step how to make, if you like, a drip tip out of the stony stuff. I believe they're pen blanks that he uses. So I'm going to play that in a little bit, and great fun. Obviously talking to Graham, known each other for a long time. Talking to Graham, putting this together. I did apologise to him in advance for the music, and he has forgiven me. With all that said, let me play this in. I'm going to pop straight into the ads after this, and I'll see you in a bit.
that's me finished. I'm not going to go through the polishing process. Got to keep some in secret. Go from a simple pen blank. Going through the process, not so hard, especially this material. Getting to the final, hope it'll show up well on camera. There was no animals hurt on this video, and it wasn't really my wife's underwear, just in case someone wants to send me a PM. Alright, that's me set up. What I tend to do is I'll get the roughest grip rather than use the tools. I think this gives a better finish. And around the top as much as I can. Different tops, some you can give a lip, and again that's more tooling required. I'm just and the biggest pain in the backside is getting in the drip well.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley. iViber and iViber Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iViber.co.uk and iViber-elixir.co.uk. iViber and iViber-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of ViberTrails.tv. Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
So there we go, we are back in the room again. And yes, Graham from Cyan Mods, next week I will be running the set of videos that we've been frantically exchanging from Thailand over the past couple of nights. So thank you very, very much, Graham, for putting that together. It is a seriously good little set of videos, and it shows you an insight into actually what goes into making a tip. I know, you know, a lot of people, or some people will say they are expensive, but they are handcrafted. You know, handcrafted, you'll see how they are made, and the labour that goes into them. I know only too well myself, after playing with the lathe for a little bit. It can take hours to make a damn drip tip, and obviously time is money. With all that said, let me get on to our next little bit, and I've totally lost where I'm going. Yes, I landed. I didn't land. We got back off the boat from the Isle of Wight, and I woke up this morning and thought, what the hell am I going to make? Reflecting on the trip, this happened. So I'm back, and I'm back at the bench, and I am still confused, or I was confused as to what to make. You may have seen from the video earlier, I did search for inspiration while away for the weekend. Now I did come out with one which is going to take a lot more investigating, and I found some nice stones on the beach, and I really wanted to mod a stone, but I'm going to have to invest in some serious drilling kit and look a bit more. But I think a stone mod of some sort may well be on the cards. One of the things that did inspire me was that I obviously did have, and more on the subject, a lot's been said, I believe, about Vamos of recent. I took the Vamo with me, only because it's nice, cheerful, chuck it in the thingy and away you go. Problem is, I found on several occasions I did shove between my legs while driving, and when you brake it flies off and goes on the floor. Put it in the ashtray, it doesn't really fit, this, that and the other. I wanted, in a way, the trip taught me one thing: I need something to hold a mod when I'm in the car. Now normally I'll only take one mod. I did take two Vamos. Now people have been talking and talking about the Fast Tech one. Now I received these last week. This one here is a brushed stainless steel Vamo that come from Fast Tech. This one here was sourced in the UK, obviously via a authorised reseller. Difference being, the Fast Tech one does have a really dark screen. Now I don't know whether that's to do with the fact that it's a copy or whatever they're saying they are, but it does have a really dark screen compared to the other one. More of a smoke screen. That is the only difference that I can actually find. I don't know whether this is a new way that they're putting them together, but yes, I want something to hold me Vamos, and I'm still on the rebuild. I'm on the old did this time. I went down to the pound shop today, and whilst looking around I found one of these, which is a disposable ashtray that fits perfectly in my cup holder. We're going to have a very quick go modding this so I can sit that straight down in the middle, sit it in my cup holder, and away we go. Nice, quick and simple. As I say, didn't have much of a clue what we were doing. I think the first thing that I'm going to have to do, obviously on this, looking at it, is to take this chunk off the bottom here. I'm going to have to enlarge the hole for that to go through, and I'm going to have to put something in the bottom for it to sort of sit in. I'm just going to grab the hacksaw straight away and take this bottom bit off. It would help if I had a sharp hacksaw. This one's as blunt as buggery. It should saw through that nice and easy, even with a bit of finger loss. Straight through. There's that out of the way. Next thing I've got to do is get this to roughly a hole size that this is going to fit through. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab the Dremel, set that up with a blade on, and I'll just round that out and I'll pop back into. Right, so basically I've just rounded out that hole with a little bit on the Dremel, and I've got an old Dremel body here that I've been using to gauge up a rough size of where that's going to go. Now realistically, if you weren't fussy, you could just use that like that in a cup holder and pop your Vamo in there. It's going to rattle around a little bit, but in terms of it not going wonky donkey flying all over the place, that may well do for some people. If you're anal about your chrome getting scratched, I'm just going to take a little bit off the base of here with the file. To be honest, this plastic is a very soft plastic. And it's not the type that is going to scratch the buggery. Now, I'm just taking off some of the burrs out of there. I mean, I'm not fussed. To me, a Vamo is exactly what it should be. It is a very cheap, very cheerful work tool that works very, very well. It does what it does, and it does it well. It's not going to win any beauty contests. It's not going to, you know, I'm not bothered if mine scratches or falls to pieces. They're relatively easy to work on, and we all know the chrome's going to wear off in 3 weeks. Anyway, so I have a hole, perfectly smooth. That will sit on the top of there, and I effectively have a very quick, very simple mod holder for £1 that I can sit that in my car, and away it goes. Now, rattling around like that, it may drive some people absolutely potty. The other thing I looked at very, very quickly was you can pick up a big pack of these sponges, which normally have the scouring pad sponges on. What I'm going to do is cut one to size to fit down in the bottom. I'm going to heat up the hot glue gun. I'm going to cut a hole in. I'll probably stack 2 of these up, and I'm going to embed those down in the bottom. So when the hammer goes in, it will have something to actually sit in to make it a little bit more firmer. So thus far, £1, and that's probably about 10p worth out of the pack. You'll probably have to peel the stickers off if you want. Leave them on, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be nice, cheap, cheerful and quick. I'm going to go away, I'm going to cut this foam, heat up the glue gun, and I will be back after this.
So, first job's going to be to cut the shapes out that I want, and you could use one of these cut-off discs, which is what I use for most things. They'll work, but as these tend to just grind a cut rather than actually cutting, they tend to melt the plastic a lot and make it a lot more difficult. So what I've chosen to use is one of these steel cutting discs with the small teeth on it, as that seems to work a lot better for doing this particular job. So off we go with the first cut. I'm going to start at this side and cut out around here, and I found it best to do it, not try and cut all the way through and cut all in one go, is to lightly run a guide all the way along and then work through the guide. So I'll show you what I mean. It's not so easy on this angle on the camera. There you go. So like that, I've now got to cut all the way along about half the depth, so I'll just keep working at it till I get all the way through now. Now the thing you need to avoid is exactly what just happened there, of the blade jamming and stalling. So try and be gentle and don't push with the blade, just let the blade pull itself through. that's it cut off into one piece. It's a little bit rough around here, that will need cleaning up a lot, but you get the general idea. And one thing I will warn you, if you're going to do this, you need some sort of eye protection. As you've got tiny bits of plastic flying off everywhere, you really need something to cover your eyes over. Glasses are good enough, I suppose. So that's one side complete. Now the easier one, I just need to cut off these two corners, and these two bits will be scrap basically, as I haven't yet thought of anything to do with them. I've got a bag full of them, I think. There you go. Of course, remember to keep your fingers well out of the way on the back, because the last thing you want to be doing is cutting through this into your finger. Now, normally that stalling doesn't especially happen when I'm doing this. It's more of I'm having to do it at arm's length. I can't quite get the angle right on it. If you can keep the blade as flat as possible to the surface, it seems to work a lot better. Also, I'd probably advise, if you've got a choice, use a mains cutter rather than a battery operated one, as they've got more power to them and it makes it a little bit easier. But whatever you do, don't speed the tool up too high, otherwise you will just start melting everything and make life a lot more difficult for yourself. So there you have the unit cut out, the back one I've cleaned up.
And while I was away this weekend, my wife appeared with this sign that she purchased for me for the shed. I shall hang that on the door. Yes, we're continuing with our little. We're going to call this. This has got to be about a £1.20 mod. Probably the cheapest one we've done, and it is a very simple holder. But I did say, you know, it's something. Looking around for something to do, really short on time this week, and needs must. And I did need something like this, to be honest. Couldn't justify spending loads on it. C1 for £1 seemed ideal. Now realistically you could backfill this top half here and totally take this bottom out and make it so you could get a number of mods in there. I use one when I'm driving, so a single holder is what it's going to be. What I've done is cut our little scouring pad things, and I've now made a hole in the bottom that a Vermo will sit in. Legs. I'm just going to take those two together now. When you're doing this, you know, make sure you get your plastic filings out of the way. It covers this stuff. Bit of hot glue around the outside of here. going to give it a bit more rigidity, I would have thought, in the sponge. Sandwich the two together, lining up your holes. Give them a good press down. Should set off quite quickly, this stuff. And hold those two together. Give it a bit more rigidity in the bottom as well. What I'm going to do is literally just drop some of the hot glue around the bottom of this, and I'm just going to start feeding that down inside here. Now, there's probably no need really to be gluing this in, but it's going to just hold it in place so it doesn't come out with the mod. Bit of hot glue just around the outside of here. There's probably nicer and neater ways of doing what I'm doing here, but in terms of a very quick and dirty holder, I'm just starting to push that down inside there so it gets to the bottom, and I'm just going to start piecing that around, getting my finger in there, moving it around. Now you could fill this with foam if you wanted to. You could probably fill it all the way up with it. Sorry, we're down in there, you see. You could probably fill it with it if you wanted to, give it a nice cushion. I'm only worried about the bottom, not too arsed. Let that set off, cool down, get in place. Once all that's cooled and set, I'll pop back. Again, apologies for the really crap mod this week, but it's all we had time to do. And it was definitely something that was bugging me this week. You know, didn't have anywhere to stick it where it wasn't falling over, because it is quite a beastie of ammo. Let's let that set, I'll come back into. And there we go, our dual purpose mod, as chat may have pointed out. Yes, so we're over with our next little bit of videos, and time is moving on rapidly. Unbelievable. I'm going to slip into our second little ad break, and I'll see you back after this.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-year tip with Garry Dibley. Liberty Flight sponsors 10-year tip with Garry Dibley.
And we are back in the room once again. As I said earlier in a video, my wife has bought me this little man cave sign, which I will hang somewhere up there. Future projects. I'm going to be attempting to make, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to film it or not, but I'm going to be making an arcade machine for the shed, of all things. But I want to do an arcade machine with a difference. I want to make it vape friendly. So I'm thinking of some USB ports on there, maybe some battery chargers built in, and it is going to be a arcade vape station. It's going to be a mammoth task, and I may show a few snippets of that as we go. I do have all the plans. I've got 90% of the kit here ready to go. but it's just a case of getting the time to do it, and time is a wonderful thing. Like I say, I was filming this show up until sort of 5:45 this evening, before editing and putting out. So bonkers, not going away for the weekend ever again. Let's pop into our next little lot, and let's see how Mark finalises his vaping stands. And I can say they are absolutely brilliant. I had atties lying around everywhere, and since getting one of these, I'm well and truly organised. It's well, have a look at this. It's well worth a make, this one, if you've got a number of doodah, what's it, jobby, tanky things lying around that you want to stick somewhere.
Once you're at this stage, I think it's best to drill all the holes before you start worrying about tidying everything up. So I'm going to start by drilling pilot holes for everything with a 2mm drill bit. I find it better that way, and less chance of cracking the perspex, which would be a complete disaster. That is the other reason for drilling the holes now, is you don't want to go to all the work of sanding and polishing everything up and drilling a hole and cracking it, which it hasn't happened yet, but it's always a possibility. So just pop a pilot hole through all the various holes. Then once you've got all your pilot holes drilled, it's time to move up to my usual favourite tool, the step drill bit. And for the 510 connectors, you're going to want a hole for the threading of slightly over 6mm wide, so a quarter of an inch bit, which I've got this marked out at. Works pretty well. For the drip tip holes, you want something close to the 8-9mm mark, somewhere in between there, I think. So 11/32 will be the size I'll be drilling them ones out to, and with a bit of sanding and cleaning up, they should fit nicely. So let's start with the main hole that I use. As usual, let the drill do all the work. And not too fast, otherwise you melt the plastic. I tend to do all the way through from one side and then finish off again on the other side. And just a quick blast, just to make sure the hole is nice and even all the way through. That's very important when you come to do the threading, otherwise it makes life very difficult if it's tapered at all. So we can carry on to drill all the others the same way. So I've drilled out all the holes to the relevant sizes, and if you're going to drill holes, do remember, if you're using a cordless drill, to remember to charge it first. Nothing worse than running out of power halfway through a job. So that's done. So the next job would be to sand off the edges. You need to sand away with a coarse sandpaper to start off with, all the way around all the edges, taking care to remove the sharp corners, round them off to a nice smooth shape. Once you've got them pretty much flattened out, switch to a wet and dry paper, so a very fine sandpaper, something like that, and just polish up the edge. And after that, you can use a buffing wheel, and what I tend to use on this, I use it on the Dremel, the buffing wheel, and I use a scratch removing compound, something like a T-cut, something like that, or a shop some brand works just as well. So you dip it in that and polish all of the edges up to a nice mirrored shine around them. But if you're going to do that, do it outside because it flicks the polish everywhere. Hence why I'm not going to show it on camera, because I don't want to risk anything hitting the lens, because it would ruin the lens out. So once you've got all that done, the last stage is to sand off the edges of the 6 holes for drip tips. Make sure you smooth away the edges, especially around the top and bottom, so that the angle slightly away from the hole, so when you put your drip tip in it doesn't damage the rubber O-ring. And the other job is to cut a thread into the holes. I'm going to use a tap. This is a plug type tap, and it's a 7 by 0.5 pitch thread, which is the correct one for a 510. It's not a standard one that you'd find in most kits. You'll have to get this one separately, as most are 7 by 1 or 7 by 0.75, but it's the 0.5 you need for the 510 connectors. So you just want to put it flat against the hole, try and get it as straight as possible, and just slowly start to turn. And you'll work a thread through the plastic. Once you've got it in, you can just quickly work through it. Clear away any swath as you go to make life easier. Once you get to a certain point, you can just move it around. Apologies for the squeak, it's rather annoying. But you get it all the way through, and then just work it back. You might want to work it forward and back a couple of times just to make sure you've got a good thread in it. I'm just going to do it once for now. So you work through like that, and hopefully this will just pop through. Or not. Helps if I do it on the right side, of course. I think it's a good idea to run all of the threads through the same side, and make sure before you put any sort of feet on a base that you put it the right way up. As you can see, that's nice and flat in there. And at this point I've still got the plastic cover on both sides of this to protect it, so I don't damage anything while I'm working on it. And then once I'm done, I'll take this off and it'll be done. It'll just be a matter of putting some feet on the base to make sure it doesn't scratch the surface, and it keeps it off because the thread will stick through slightly, as will the bottom of the drip tips. So that's something to remember. And I'll pop back with a finished article to show you. And there you have, after much work, the finished article. Holes around here for atomizers, tanks, cartomizers, whatever you want to put in, and holes for drip tips. And it's got a nice polished edge to it, all the way around, no sharp points. It's all nice and safe for to use. And on the base there's 4 feet just to hold it up so that it sits nicely, won't move around when you're working on it, and won't damage any surfaces. And there you have it, all done. And just for the complete set. Right, catch you next week.
Right, so I've finished it off and I'm just trying it for a little bit of a fit in the car, and you'll have to excuse the state of the floor. The old wife's been been away for the weekend, obviously, grass and sand and stuff everywhere. I've got it in place down here. It sits there quite happily. It is going to be a nice little holder for my mod, and you can see that's quite a beastie when you're sort of driving to you know, it's an absolute pain in the bum, but hopefully that should keep it nice and stum in there. And I know it's not brilliant, it's not a perfect fit, but it's better than it hitting the floor every time, and it's there, and it's at hand, you know, it's quite close to hand. Not the bestest in the world, but for a quid it'll do me very, very nicely. I'm going to drive around for a bit and we'll see how it goes, but I'm assuming that's not going to do much more than any of the other things that are out there. Works, does a job for cheap. I'll come back into. Right, so I'm back inside, and I thought I was missing a trick. You may see a couple of additions in our little bucket, in our mod bucket, our holder. I was sort of thinking, one of the other problems I had when I was on holiday was actually, excuse me, driving in the dark. I'm rushing because it's 5:30 and I'm filming this actually tonight, the night that it's going out. Hence a panic and probably all over the place. I couldn't see the bloody thing in the dark, and a couple of times I was fumbling around trying to get it. Now what I've done is installed a little on-off switch down here, straight to a simple little LED. Press the button there, that little blue LED in the dark, I've tried it in the shed with all the lights off, actually illuminates the whole of the mod down in there. Now this is on a little 18350 battery, quite easy to turn on and off. You can reach down inside the cup, turn it on. That will sit there quite happily for probably on for a week before that battery runs out on an 18350. I'll show you very, very quickly how I've done that. Now that's just going to sit there in my cup holder, and my mod's going to be illuminated blue. Again, in the dark I'll be able to see exactly where to slide that back in. So very simply, all I've done is taken one of my if you like, an 18350 battery holder. I've mounted that up vertically. Now this is a bloody mess, you'll have to excuse this, but literally up vertically, 18350 battery in there, off the neg to a switch, neg round to the neg side of the LED, which has just been drilled through, a little 220 resistor on the POS side running straight through to the POS on the battery. That's all made so that can lift off as is, and as I say, that will just fire the LED. Nothing spectacular, but that lid now still goes on nicely like that. And in the dark, I can press my button, and that'll illuminate whatever mod I do have in there, as you can probably see. Yeah, you see it sort of glowing. Going to be hard to simulate dark, but trust me, the mod glows blue. So yeah, a little final bit, a little final thing. I now need to run away like a good one and get this edited in some form of usable content for tonight. If I turn the camera light off and do that, you'll see hopefully that it illuminates the mod. And in the dark, in the shed, it actually does glow the whole of the mod up, which is quite cool. There we go. Little pound mod holder that last minute made it to have a little LED so we could see it in the dark. Happy days. That's going in the car. I'm going to check that in the car. I'm quite happy to leave that 18 or whatever it is. I think it's a 13. Was it? I don't know what size battery it is. Small one anyway. It's a CR123 jobby, 16340. I knew it'd come to me eventually, but that'll sit there forever. It's a battery that I don't use. It's been with me for a while and not used. It's just going to be used to power an LED, which is going to pull nothing. That will last an absolute age in there. Happy days. Back to me in the studio. Probably, as I say, it's now rapidly coming on to nearly 6:15. Go live at 9. I've now got to get this edited and out. Again, apologies for the rush thing tonight. Happy days.
Talk to you in a bit. Cheers. Bye.
And there we go. Yeah, rather frantic today. Yes, it was sort of mod holder making today. I must say, Marks, after having one for a while, and I've said it a couple of times tonight, but they are very good. Well worth having a crack at if you want something to hold your mods. My thing, cheap as chips. Pound shop, you can get those there with all the smoking stuff. You know, the tins and little filters and all that sort of stuff, lighters. They're a quid. In the pound shop, amazing. Get stuff for £1. I don't know why, but whenever I go in the pound shop, I always pick something up and say to the woman, how much is that? Drives and pie. Love it. Wife hates going with me. Don't forget, this week we have got lots and lots coming up. Tomorrow night we have a Vapor Scene. On Wednesday night we have a VT Talk, I believe, and I need a slap if I've forgotten. I do believe we may have something following on from Marco's show. I don't know if it's this week or next week. If it is this week, it'll be 9:45, which will be our German version, I believe, of Vapor Trails. Apologies, I'm sure that'll be clarified at some point this week, and I can see typing going on. Probably cocked it up and got it all completely wrong. Haze Hour, Thursday. I'm not sure whether we'll be seeing Mr. Sutton on Saturday or not. He is frantically away, still working on the Smoking Without Fire videos and day job, so not 100% sure whether we'll be seeing him this week, but it is a grand campaign that he's doing, and some of the videos he is putting out are absolutely stonking. Really good stuff. On Sunday, Dave Kitson with his tackle box. So don't forget to tune in. We'll be back here next week again. What will we be doing? I haven't got a clue. As usual, if you've got suggestions or anything like that. On that point, somebody did actually send an email in saying, you know, could you do a non-res wire welder? Now we have actually, or I did play with one of those a little time ago, and there is a vid in the archive. If you go to the replay section and go to Tin Your Tip, it is in there somewhere. If you want me to revisit that, I can do. I've still got all the stuff here. We can do that again, not a problem. And probably this time might be worth getting it into a holder of some sort. With all that said, it has been an extremely long weekend, starting at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning and ending at midnight last night. I am absolutely, completely and utterly knackered. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tune in next week where we'll be doing something completely different. I don't know what, but we will be. With all that said, thank you very much, guys. It has been emotional. I will see you soon.
Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.